Hey everybody, Dan here with Motor Mutt Garage. Today we're going to be talking about this 5 kilowatt diesel heater from Vevor. It has an applicable range of 161 to 215 foot squared, or for every other country out here, 15 to 20 meters squared. Fun little fact, according to Google, there are only 3 countries that still use the imperial system. That is the United States, Liberia, and Myanmar. If I said those incorrectly, I do apologize. I meant absolutely no disrespect. I'm just your local neighborhood country boy. Moving on. So this right here, according to Vevor, will produce rapid and efficient heat within 10 minutes of being on. It only consumes about 1 gallon per night, so about 8 to 10 hours of diesel. And it has a tank of 1.3 gallons or 5 liters. Correct me if I'm wrong. So it's got a fairly large tank that should last you all night long, right? I bought this because we want to start doing camping in the winter time. Here in Arizona, it still gets cold at night. We're going camping next week and the low is going to be about 34 to 36. So I think this will come in handy and help keep us warm throughout the night. Well, let's not keep up the anticipation and let's see what's in this box. So first thing, we'll have our manual. We'll have our air ducts. We'll also have the heater itself, which is packed very well. All right, and there's also another box at the bottom of the packed box. So I'm just gonna throw this stuff behind me just so we can kind of get a good little look at this bad boy or girl, whichever you prefer. So we'll see. Here's where your vent hose will go towards your tent or your home or vehicle, whatever you're camping in. It does have a LCD.
Oh, he broke in my nose.
Screen. Don't do that. That's not supposed to happen. And then you have this detachable little remote control. There's no display on the remote, but I mean, if you're in your tent, your vehicle, camper, whatever, and it starts getting hot, then just adjust the temperature. You do have your fuel spout right here, or fuel cap rather, for your tank. Again, it is a 1.3 gallon or 5 liter capacity tank. And then in the very back, you have your wires for hookup. I use a marine with one of the electrical boxes, or covers, what have you, that has all the little wires and connectors and all that good stuff. So we'll wire that up for that later. All right, so inside this box right here, we will have the exhaust pipe. Whatever that is, pipe, we will figure that out in a moment. We'll have our hose vent, as well as looks like we'll have a air filter, a bunch of clamps, a couple bolts, our muffler. All right, so looked it up real quick. This right here is the air filter hose. So now that we know what that is, let's get to putting this thing together. All right, so the instructions are pretty easy to read, but I do want to just point out that if you just try to jump straight into it like I did, and you get to this part, you're going to see that there's 2 outlets on the very bottom of this that look exactly the same. The one facing the front where the heater hose is that's going to be your exhaust port, and the one towards the rear is going to be your fresh air filter port. All right, you're going to go ahead and bend your exhaust quite something like this. Make sure that you have your clamp, and then go ahead and push it to the front as much as you can. I'm sure that someone out there is going to hate this, and that's completely fine. You can use your handy dandy screwdriver. I probably would recommend that. However, this is way faster. So once you have that one on, you'll do the same thing for this. You'll just push it towards the rear. There is a little hole right here. And same thing. Put your clamp. All right. And then again, put that in there. This will clamp on. And there you go. All right, so it's kind of a pain in the butt, but you can booger it on. It ain't too bad. It's just a very, very, very tight fit. Make sure you do have your clamp on there, unlike me. That wasn't very smart on my part. Then go ahead and clamp it on. All right, now because I don't want to strip the bolts or anything, I will go ahead and use a screwdriver to tighten up the screws a little bit more on the clamps. Just to make sure they are good and snug. You don't want any leaks. Now I have kind of half-assery put this thing together, right? And the reason being is because, well, I just want to make sure it works. Once I make sure that it works, I will go back through, make sure everything is good and snug and the way that I actually want it. I did look in the manual. It did recommend, or it said to make sure that the exhaust is straight out. It says do not canter like this. You'll see it bend right here. This is where I initially bent it thinking that that's where I'd want to do, but I was wrong. Don't be like me, be right. All right, so here in a moment, I'm going to put some diesel fuel in here so that way we can get to the next stage of prepping this thing for its initial start. I did want to point out, if you're using one of these, I've seen some reviews where it dies throughout the night because the diesel sludges. That is one of the downsides to diesel. It can get too cold and it can slush. So I would definitely highly recommend using something like heat or something for the diesel so that way it just prevents it from slushing. See if we can do this without spilling it all over the place.
Got him! Got him!
Oh yeah, that's the way to do it. That'll get her done right there, little feller. Spill her all over the place. So, joke's on me, right? I actually do have what we refer to in the military as a donkey dick, right? And all it is a spout that goes on to here. However, I was trying not to use it. Again, joke's on me. So let's try this again. I want to do it a little bit differently this time. This time I'm ready for it. Huh? I'm burning my toes off with it, that's for sure. Alright, so I'm not putting a lot in here because, well, this is just the initial start just to make sure it will run. I am going to pause this and clean up my mess a little bit so my wife doesn't kill me. Alright, so I got that cleaned up. It honestly looked way worse than what it actually was. Again, I didn't put very much fuel in here because I'm just trying to start it up. I just want to make sure it does start. Want to make sure it does function properly. So, yeah. Good thing about diesel is diesel isn't extremely flammable or anything. But at the same time though, you get it hot enough, it will burn, right? So again, if you do make a big mess, just make sure you clean it up as best of your ability to prevent any type of damage, because last thing you want to do when you're sleeping is have your heater catch on fire. Alright, for the time being, I don't have any fittings that will fit over this little battery terminal. So I put little gator clamps on there for now, temporarily. Tomorrow I'll go to the hardware store. There is going to be a clicking noise for the fuel pump. And I'm only going to let this run for a moment or two just because I don't want the exhaust in the garage. As you see, I have the door closed. So alright, so you'll hear this clicking noise. That is the fuel pump working. It's not too bad, and honestly, if you're inside of a tent and this is outside, that's not going to be very loud because you're going to have the wind, you're going to have other noises that are accommodating this, and no louder than it is, it might honestly just be a little beat to go to sleep to. Now that it's starting to heat up a little bit, I do hear the little engine or whatever winding up a little bit. This thing might fly to space, I don't know. Alright guys, so I did start the heater a little bit ago. It does take a few minutes for it to actually start producing adequate hot air, but surprisingly enough, it was pretty warm when I decided to turn it off. While it was still producing a little bit of heat to it, I could smell the exhaust some. So again, you know, the carbon monoxide, CO2 is kind of a worry depending on where you place the diesel heater while camping or sleeping in your vehicle, whatever you decide you're going to use it for. I did purchase this little CO2, it's a 3-in-1 detector. I'll put the link or the name over here so that way you can look at it. I can't say it starts with the C, but it does detect CO2, carbon monoxide. It does tell you the temperature as well as how much humidity there is in the air. So it is kind of an all-around air quality meter. I have tested the CO2. It does alert. It did a great job. It has a pretty loud, audible alarm once the CO2 does get above 50 ppm, parts per million. If you're sleeping in a tent or something and you know this starts going off, I think, unless you're just a deep sleeper, I do think it would wake you. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and try to test this little 3-in-1 air quality meter. So right here on the exhaust, it does show that the temperature is 100 degrees Fahrenheit or 38 degrees Celsius. You are able to change the degree measurement by simply pushing the on-off button. The power button actually doesn't do anything. The screen automatically turns off after a little bit to save power. So I'm having a little bit of trouble getting this to go off. Honestly, I did use it earlier. I had this set to 10, so it was probably emitting a lot more CO2 or carbon monoxide. I am able to smell the exhaust a little bit more now. But, oh yeah, man, this air is freaking hot. Like, it's insane how hot this air is. it automatically jumped from 118 degrees over there from the exhaust side to now 123 degrees Fahrenheit, 125, 127, and it's going to keep rising. Again, little remote control, you're able to turn it on, turn it off, raise the settings. I have a couple times when I'm trying to lower it, accidentally hit the off. So it is a little touchy, but again, as I lower the speed for the heat and or the setting, the fuel pump starts going slower and slower and slower. I think when trying to go to sleep at night, it's honestly, it's just loud enough where it may put you to sleep. Like, it is not loud at all. So I'm gonna go ahead, turn it off. Highly recommend letting it do its full cool down procedures, because it is diesel. You want it to clear anything out of the exhaust, but definitely let it do its cool down procedure. Your LCD or whatever or little screen it'll stay lit for a few minutes as it's cooling down, and then once it's off, if you want to, you can unhook it from the battery. However you decide you want to do that. Me personally, I always unhook it just in case there's ever an issue and there's a short, then it limits the possibilities of further damage. Something else that I didn't mention earlier, but I decided to upgrade the dryer vent hose, because this hose right here is pretty hot to the touch, and you can probably see it. It's very, very cheap looking. I found this one right here from Hydro, and again, I'll put the link in the description. But it's insulated with aluminum foil. It's had really good reviews on it, so it's I'm going to go from a 3-inch to a 4-inch. So I will have to figure out how to adapt it. Probably just clamp it onto this one or something. The reason I did that was I want to make sure there's sufficient airflow, because I feel this is pushing so much power. Like if you have it on 10, the highest setting, and you're trying to push all that heat, but it's not able to flow through freely, especially if you have, like me, I'm going to have this in a rooftop tent, and this is on the ground. You may not have, it might not be able to push that air out fast enough, because your dryer hose might be too long. So to try to prevent overheating of the actual diesel heater, that's why I went with the 4-inch. I felt like that would allow more adequate heat, as well as the insulated dryer hose will also hopefully retain more heat at that distance. But this is a 4-inch by 8 foot. It was like $9.99 or something like that. Again, I will leave a link in the description if that's something you're interested in, as well as 3-in-1 air quality meter. I put this on the back of my Land Rover exhaust, and I'm talking about in like seconds. Once it got over 50 ppm, it just started yelling at me, telling me to get out of there. So again, pretty shocked at how well this works. I'm just hoping this doesn't emit as much exhaust as I figured it would. Other than that, I mean, I think that about covers this. Again, there's no installation needed. You just install a couple of the parts. Comes with the screws, the clamps, super easy. Put some fuel in there. Try not to make a mess like I did. So yeah, if you want to go ahead and upgrade your dryer vent hose, I would recommend it, depending on what kind of environment you're sleeping in. He even talks to you, wishes me a safe journey. Again, I think I gave $105 for this thing. It's pretty awesome for $105. Plus, $10 for this, so $115. And then I gave like $30 for this. But again, better safe than sorry. I think this will give it a little bit of peace of mind. Well, awesome, guys. I appreciate you watching. Leave comments, or if there's something I forgot, by all means ask. I'll try to answer it the best I can. If I just completely mutilated something in this, let me know. Merry Christmas to you. Have a good one, guys.